Hello, and welcome to this setup and configuration of the HDR-CAT series of HDMI to HDBaseT distribution amplifiers. In this video, we are showing the AT-HDR-CAT2 web interface. But this interface is the same for all of the HDR-CATs. They just have more outputs. The AT-HDR-CAT distribution amplifiers are shipped with DHCP enabled. Once connected to the network, the DHCP server, if available, will automatically assign an IP address to the unit. If the HDR-CAT is unable to detect a DHCP server within 15 seconds, then the unit will use a self-assigned IP address within the range of 169.254. You can use an IP scanner along with the MAC address on the bottom of the unit to identify the unit on the network. If a static IP address is desired, the unit can be switched to static mode. The default static IP address is 192.168.1.254. To change the setting for the IP mode, you need to press and hold the power button on the front of the HDR-CAT for approximately 15 seconds. This is a toggle between DHCP and static. The number of flashes will indicate the currently selected IP mode. 4 flashes is DHCP mode, and 2 flashes is static IP mode with the default IP address of 192.168.1.254. The HDR-CATs include a built-in web server for configuration. To access the server, make sure your computer and the HDR-CAT are on the same network. Open the browser on your computer and enter the IP address of the HDR-CAT. The first time you access the server, you'll be prompted to register a username and password. Use these same credentials for all subsequent logins. The information page provides information about the model and firmware versions, as well as the details about the HDMI input, such as signal type, video format, aspect ratio, color space, and color depth. Under AV settings, the default HDCP setting is compliant, which allows the source device to send the HDCP content to an HDCP compliant display. Selecting non-compliant will attempt to force the source device to ignore detection of the HDCP compliant display. This setting does not decrypt or circumvent the HDCP protected content. You can toggle the analog audio output on or off and use the fader for level control. The RS-232 page allows configuration of the master RS-232 connection for the HDR-CAT. This is typically used when a control system interfaces with the unit over a serial port. Baud rate, data bits, parity, and stop bits are all user selectable. In addition, there are 2 pass-through RS-232 IR ports that allow connected peripherals and displays to be controlled using a control system. For example, RS-232 commands can be passed through the AT-HDR-CAT2, transmitted over the HDBaseT to the receiver unit, and then to the display. Note that each of the RS-232 IR ports are assigned to a specific HDBaseT out port. The assignment is fixed and cannot be changed. RS-232 IR1 goes to HDBaseT out 1, and RS-232 IR2 goes to HDBaseT out 2. On this page, when EDID is locked, the current settings are stored and cannot be altered. When unlocked, the EDID configuration can be customized. You can use the internal mode designated by the initials INT to select one of the 8 pre-configured EDID selections. You can also change the mode to Learn and use the Copy button to capture the EDID of the connected display. Once the EDID is learned or pre-programmed once selected, it will be used by the source device to determine what video and audio formats to send. The config page allows you to change the username and password for the web server and telnet interfaces. This is the built-in test application for the HDR-CAT HDBaseT cables. You can switch between output 1 or output 2, Then hit Start to see if the cable passes and is functioning as expected. For best results, make sure an active source, receiver, and sink are connected. Under the System page, you can change the network connection from DHCP to static and set it accordingly. The HDR-CAT provides the option to prompt for user credentials or bypass authentication before the telnet session is initiated. This credential prompt option is enabled or disabled. When prompting for user credentials, use the same login information required by the built-in web server. When a telnet session is active, the HDR-CATs can set to monitor the telnet activity. If there's no activity within the specified time interval, the telnet session will automatically be terminated, adding a measure of security. It can be set to intervals between 10 and 3600 seconds, or about 1 hour. The power button on the HDR-CAT can be configured in a few different ways. DA Standby toggles between standby and normal operating mode. CEC allows the power button to send CEC protocol power on and power off commands to the connected displays. Both allows the power button to toggle between power of the HDR-CAT itself as well as send the CEC power commands. You can also reset to factory defaults and update the firmware. For more information about the HDR-CAT 2, 4, 4ED, or 8, go to www.atlona.com.